Jane Jackson, my new boss, stood before me. The moment she walked through Teresa's bookstore, I knew Jane would be trouble. She wore a gray suit that was too hot for a Tennessee summer, with a white shirt snuggled tight against her neckline. Jane's brown hair wrapped into a tight bun, which made me wonder if it gave her headaches. Those high stilettos were a better match for women who sat in office chairs all day and attended swanky lunches, rather than spending a day opening heavy boxes or restocking bookshelves. My new boss looked as if she stepped out of a Vogue magazine. "Fired?" I asked. "Fired is a strong word, but yes, Garnet," Jane said nonchalantly. "After today, my aunt's bookstore will be permanently closed." Her bland brown eyes studied the sales floor. I knew Jane noticed the tower of books that needed a home on the shelf rather than being pushed against the wall to be dealt with later. The longer she absorbed the store's clutter, the worse her grimace became. I wanted to say something, anything, to change her mind, but the shock of the store closing took my voice. Finally, she turned her attention to me. "As I said in my email, I'll pay you for the work you've done." Jane paused, reading my face. "It's just a used bookshop. Nothing personal." "Nothing personal?" I snapped. "The bookstore means everything to me. I've worked here for 9 years and ran the store on my own for an entire month." Jane gave me a blank stare. It felt like she was the school's principal listening to a trivial complaint from a student. While Jane believed closing the bookstore was strictly business, my heart shattered. Teresa's bookstore was my life and passion, my career. Princess, a black and white cat who lives here, jumped onto the counter next to the boxy computer the store used as the register. Jane stepped back as if the tuxedo feline was a ferocious panther. Princess sat up straight, waiting to be acknowledged. Jane gasped. "I didn't know Aunt Teresa kept animals inside her store." I stroked Princess from her head to her back. She turned to me, purring. I admired the dotted black line along Princess's neckline, which entitled her to a name bearing royalty. How dare Jane call Princess a mere animal? Your Grace would have been more fitting. Your aunt loved cats. I debated if I should warn her about the other cat, Butterscotch, but quickly dismissed the thought. Jane would find out soon enough. Jane sneered at Princess and turned her attention to her surroundings. "This place is a mess. You should have cleaned it before I arrived." Stacks of books for online orders filled one side of the L-shaped counter, while others were being held for customers. Plastic bags remained inside a cardboard box, rather than being hung on a hook near the register. Bookmarks rested in a large coffee mug, free to anyone who wanted one. Thankfully, Jane couldn't see the mess in the cubbies under the counter. With one foot, I pushed the Windex and paper towels deeper inside the space. They didn't move far. From the large bay window, the morning light peeked between the 4 rows of bookshelves. The smallest of the 4 at shoulder height held notebooks donated and were free to anyone. Most of the papers had been torn out, but locals knew Teresa was not one who threw things away because some or half of the pages were missing. They were perfect treasures for children who loved to doodle. The other 3 bookshelves were filled with fiction books from various authors that had been published in the last 5 years or maintained popularity. If I had the time and an extra set of hands, I would have reorganized novels by genre. Boxes filled with empty copies that were already on the shelves towered at the end of each row. I wanted to put them upstairs, but never got around to it since there were bigger things that needed to be done before Jane's arrival. The room to my right housed romance and horror books. Occasionally, customers put an unwanted book in the wrong place, an ongoing battle that I refused to surrender. While in general fiction, the books were often crammed in sections. The novels needed to be spaced out better and alphabetized. Once I recycled the half-filled notebooks, I would have the space.